Hello and welcome to Little African News. My name is Mona Davids and I am the publisher and the founder of Little African News and the New York Voice News. Today's show is especially important to me because, as many of you know, I am a South African. I was born in South Africa. I was raised here in New York City. But I am still very much concerned with what happens in South Africa. It is my home country, and I am still a South African citizen, a South African American at this point. But there are a lot of similarities and issues that are happening in South Africa and also are happening here in the US. And one of the biggest issues is illegal immigration. And that's why I'm honored today to have as our guest the founder of March and March, Jacinta Ngobese Zuma, who is joining us here at Little African News to talk about this week's marches. And for some of our new audience that will be watching from South Africa, just a little bit of background about Little African News. Little African News is the only weekly African newspaper in New York City and in the US. And we cover news, we cover civic events, we cover current affairs, and we provide information that is relevant to the African diaspora community. For those who are not in New York City, this is one of our newspapers. As you can see, we have Mayor Mamdani on the front cover. It's a weekly newspaper. So this is Little African News. So if you come into New York City, please look out for it. And when I say that we cover, news that's relevant to Africans, we were also the first newspaper to have Zoran Mamdani on the front cover of the newspaper a day after he announced. I interviewed him that afternoon. We printed, and Zoran was on the front page of Little African News and was also, kind enough to post it on his social media. And this is, I just want to just show you guys the cover when the Ugandan-born Zoran Mamdani announced he's running for mayor. Let me ask my producer to pull up his Instagram. So as you see, this is what we cover. This is Zoran's Instagram page with our front page story of him running for mayor. So coming back to this really, really important real talk conversation that we're going to have today with Jacinta about what is happening in South Africa, the illegal immigration crisis, and how, South Africans, along with other people from other African countries who are also fed up with illegal immigration. So again, everyone, I want to say, Jacinta, thank you for joining us today. Welcome. And I want to go on the record and say thank you for what you're doing. I am a South African. I have my South African passport. My kids are South Africans. They have their South African passports. And it means a lot. And we are watching. We may not be home with you, but we are watching, and we appreciate you standing up and fighting to put South Africans first. So Jacinta, for our viewers, for our audience, please introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself and how you started this journey.
I don't know if it's evening or morning, Mona, but time difference is something else. But thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you about this. And it's really, really humbling to actually get such an opportunity, because I was actually watching Sky News, and I was so disappointed at the level of reporting. And I'm like, we need more and more of our voice to be heard and our story to be told in the way that is correct. So thank you for this opportunity. Well, I'm Jacinta. I'm a young lady who was born at Ishowe. I don't know if you know Ishowe in KZN, but it's a
Mhm.
rural hometown in KZN. This is where I was born, and when I was around 2 years old, I moved to Guamashu, which is a location in KZN, and I grew up there for a while. Then I moved to Johannesburg. I lived there throughout high school, and then I moved back to Durban after that, and I've been based here for all that while until I got married and started my own family here. And March and March was something that I can say was visionary for me, if I can call it that, because for a while I've had an issue with this issue of our country just being like the way that it is right now. And I've been paying attention to it, talking about it on social media. There was a time where there was a whole Chidima story, and Chidima was trending for having stolen someone's identity. And the rest of the world was like busy saying, oh, it's xenophobia. And I didn't get it. I'm like, guys, do you not understand that someone's identity was stolen for this girl to be where she is today? And
Mhm.
some people just like completely twisted the narrative. So ever since then, I've been deeply frustrated about this thing. But then it hasn't been bothering me just in the physical, because even in my sleep, I've been getting a lot of dreams of little girls going missing, being stolen in containers, etc. So for a very long time, these dreams used to bother me, and I'd wake up in the morning and I just had visions of kids going missing in containers all the time. And at that time here in South Africa, like every single day, I kid you not, Mona, every single day, children were going missing.
Mhm.
And the government was not taking this seriously. And this was like really starting to frustrate me. And then after a while the children were going missing, then suddenly children were just dying like flies because of the food that they were buying from these tuck shops. And I expected the government to do something like riveting, like cut out all these tax shops that you don't even know. They don't even pay tax. They don't even like contribute to the economy in any way. And the government just said, oh no, register them. Then I just like my heart just sank at the same time. That's when I realized like how deep in trouble we are. And then I still carried on just ignoring the voice. And, eventually I remember the words exactly when I woke up from this one dream. And it was like, one day it's going to be your child in that container. I think that day changed my life completely, because I knew then that I can't just sit back and not do anything about this. I have to use my voice. And at that time, I'm a radio presenter, so I used my voice on radio to kind of bring awareness to this thing. I used my social media platform until a time came when I was fired for it, and I was graceful about it, because I knew it's definitely, I didn't know what was going on at the time, but I knew that it's God directing me to where the fight is supposed to be. And after that, I was sad, because I mean, I've loved radio since I was a child, and I knew that, my career is going to be on radio. But then it took a totally different direction, and from there, I knew that my voice was probably meant to bring awareness to how bad the state of our country is, because we are in deep, deep trouble.
Yeah, no, you bring up a few very important points, and the Chadema matter. Oh my goodness, people don't understand that a South African child's ID was stolen, and that impacted that South African child, who's now an adult, their entire
Yeah.
life. And there are South
Yeah.
Africans who are, who are struggling, who can't go to school, who, can't apply to university because their ID has been stolen. And when I tell you it impacts a lot of people, I know for a fact, because let me tell you, my ID was stolen. So, and I only found out that my South African ID was stolen, I think it was like back in 2005, and I needed to get, no, it was maybe 2003 or so, and I needed to get an ID book because all I had was my book of life. I had a South African passport, but I needed to get an ID book because now I was an adult and I was in Durban. And I went to Amgeni Road.
Yes, yes,
Home,
that's exactly, yes, Home Affairs.
I went to the Home Affairs office, and Jacinta, they told me that I am married. I'm married to a Pakistani. Okay, all right. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. So right now, there is someone in South Africa who is married to a Pakistani with my name, with my original ID number, okay, going around. And when I do have the time, I am going to follow up on it because that means them, if they have children, it's similar to the Chidima situation. You know, this is something that impacts everyone. And I had to get a new ID number. That's how
But they're not
ridiculous.
even supposed to do that, because for them to do that, it means they've already allocated that ID and persona to someone else. It means they've officiated that person's existence through a corrupt system. That's not what they're
Mhm.
supposed to be doing. They're
Yeah,
supposed to be
yeah.
revoking that identity document from whoever that person is, because now this is the major problem that we have. We've got the most corrupt Home Affairs officials who are making a business out of this country's documents. And it adds further to the frustration that we have as a country, where everyone thinks we're just like mad people who just like dislike people. But the amount of fraud that's happening in this country, with everyone just trying to be in South Africa and trying to have all our rights and all the free things and access to everything, it's impossible for any country to be able to absorb that much pressure from every single African country, Pakistanis, Belgium, Bangladesh, and all these other Indian countries that we have nothing that ties us with, but now we have to, because if we dare say anything to, and then the rest of the world is up in arms about it.
Yeah, no, it that is 100% true. And when it comes to Home Affairs, we it's Home Affairs employees that are selling our IDs because with my stolen ID, they had my street address from the mid 1980s as in Brooklyn as the street address for me. Okay, they like I lived at that address as a child. We're not trying to date myself, but we're saying early 80s, and that's a problem. And then even here, like I there was one of the diplomats that worked at the consulate. His ID was stolen, and and he's a diplomat, and he's trying to deal with it. Like it's so ridiculous, and more needs to be done when it comes to Home Affairs rooting out the corruption. Um, I want to play Jacinta. This past week, you uh, presented. You had two marches. If you could just tell us a little bit about um, the two marches that March and March did in Pretoria and in Johannesburg this week, that has made news globally, from BBC to Sky News. Even here, it has been covered.
Yeah, so for us, it was very important to take to the streets, because that's exactly how we gained our democracy, through marching, through showing our anger and discontent with the government. And that's exactly what the point of those marches are: to go to our government and tell them that, listen, we have had enough of you nursing the feelings of all these foreigners at the expense of us, and we demand to be put first in our own country. And I was actually laughing that someone else who's listening to this might think it's so ridiculous that people are asking to be put first in their own country, because our government has assumed a posture of people who are scared of the international world and the backlash that anything that has to do with foreigners must be handled with child's gloves. I mean, even the criminals who are foreigners don't get shot at by the police. But I mean, when it comes to South Africans, they die like flies every single day. And for us, this is not a way of living. We can't live because the rest of the world is going to say, oh, South Africa, this and that. We don't care at the end of the day. It's our country. And if the rest of the world wants to paint us as people who are mad or whatever, that's up to them. But this globalization idea that they're trying to piggy as or like gimmick using South Africa is exactly why we're angry, because we can see clearly that the agenda is bigger than just us. You know, it's the rest of the world telling us how to govern our country so that they can fulfill whatever missions they have about globalization and global whatever standards. I mean, it's so ridiculous, Mona, that even our universities are run by foreigners. Our places of education and learning, where we as South Africans do not even feel comfortable with listening to some of the lectures because you can't even hear a thing that they're saying, because they're going to say, oh no, if you dare complain, then you're xenophobic. So we had those marches. There's so many things I can tell you about. Our South African teachers are unemployed, yet the database is sitting at thousands and thousands of teachers being hired from outside of South Africa. The law doesn't even allow that, because the law says you have to be bringing in a special skill. You can't just be here because you're a teacher. I mean, how many teachers do we have? I mean, we've got so many problems, and it's so sad because it's the same history that we come from that's bringing us full circle back here. Now everyone is telling us, oh, we helped you with this and this. Oh, we helped you. Now everyone feels entitled to tell us how to run our country. And that's why we're citizens are saying, you're not going to take us back to apartheid, where we are colonized, where we feel barred and we feel like our voice doesn't matter, our votes, we can't even vote, and it makes a difference. Now everything is being handed over to foreigners. So that's clearly the message. You've got so many other things that I can say. I mean, our country is practically run by NGOs, you know, using the courts. They go, oh, this is democracy. Then they run to go to the courts, and the judges always favor them because they are all the same anyway. So it's frustrating to have to put up with all of this, really.
You know, Jacinta, here in the U.S., as you know, we have President Trump, who is pushing an Americans First agenda. And President Trump may be a lot of things. I don't,
Yep.
agree with him on a lot of things, especially when it comes to the crazy nonsense about a genocide in South Africa, which we know is not happening. But I respect him because
Yep.
he is putting Americans first.
Yep.
And, you're talking about jobs. He is cutting down on the H-1B visas and all these other visas that are letting a whole lot of people come here, because he's saying, no, Americans can do the job. We don't need that. You want to talk about education and universities. On Thursday, the U.S. Justice Department filed a lawsuit against the state of New Jersey, because the state of New Jersey is providing what we call in-state. If you live in a state, then your tuition is discounted than if from someone who may also be American from out of state, because it's kind of like a benefit for being an in-state resident. The state of New Jersey, and it's not just New Jersey, other states are doing it, but they're starting with New Jersey. The state of New Jersey, Jacinta, is providing illegal immigrants with free tuition or discounted in-state tuition. But if you're an American from New York City, Florida, or anywhere, and you want to come to a university in New Jersey, you have to pay the full price. And that is against the law. You can't give to illegal immigrants what you are not giving to Americans.
Absolutely.
So they
Absolutely.
filed a lawsuit, and it's just the beginning. And, when it comes to housing, like I saw a video, Jacinta, of a Somali woman
Demanding healthcare and a
yeah,
SASA grant.
and Yeah, the SASSA grant. For our viewers, our American viewers who don't know, SASSA is like welfare. It is
Yeah.
welfare. You get,
That's not all. They demand welfare, they demand documentation, they demand housing, they demand everything you can imagine, they demand.
and that, here in the US, it's the same thing. And this administration is cutting down on it because what you have is you have Americans who have jobs who cannot afford health insurance, who are going bankrupt. But if you're here illegally in what we call blue states like New York, New Jersey, states run by Democrats, you get free health care, free childcare, free lawyers, free housing, you get welfare, you get a free cell phone, you get everything. But if you're a legal immigrant or an American, you don't get any of the freebies. And that just incentivizes illegal immigration. And when I saw the Somali woman there complaining and demanding that they must get the SASSA grant and they don't need to have a green ID book and all of this stuff, I just said, oh my goodness, you know, maybe President Ramaphosa and his government, the ANC, the GNU, whatever the hell they want to call themselves today, that's something that maybe they can learn from the US government.
They don't care. You see what the problem is here is that those people that you just mentioned are mine owners and business owners in all these other African countries. So they don't care about South Africans. They don't.
Well, that's unfortunate. Jacinta, one of the things that I want to point out that I noticed is that when I saw the videos of your marches that you did in Pretoria and in Joburg, and the people that came out, the massive crowds, I looked for buses in the background, and I didn't see any buses. These people were not bussed in. The turnout, the massive turnout that your organization, March and March, had, South African political parties organize and demand their members from throughout the country to get bussed in and come to attend marches like that. So I'm going to ask, I'm going to just play some video, Johannesburg March. Thank you. So, Jacinta, I don't know if you can turn your light on because it's getting a bit
really late now.
Yeah, that's much better. So, I just played the video from the Joburg March. Can you tell us a little bit about the march and about you presented a memorandum to the premier? I forgot his name, but
yeah. So we had two marches this week. The first one went to the Union Buildings, which is one of the capitals of the country. And there we were met with the deputy minister and we handed over our memorandum. And it's funny because on the way there, there's another place that Nigerians have taken over and all these other foreigners and claim as their own. It's much like Hillbrow. It's called Sunnyside, and they completely have run down the place. As you know, you'd know how they are once they come into a place. They run it down as though nobody else must live there or feel safe. So that's exactly what they did to the place. And we went through there, handed over the memorandum to the deputy minister in the president's office. And then yesterday, the day after, sorry, then we sent another memorandum to the premier of Gauteng about all those shops that they own there. And the funny part is every time. He also raised concerns about every time he tries to bring in development to South Africans. These foreigners are the first people to run to courts and block him because they know they can't get that development because it's only for South Africans and people who are legal in the country. So there's no development happening because they're using our courts as their playground, and it's ridiculous, really. It's yeah,
Yeah.
it's disheartening.
Well, I think, Jacinta, that there's a playbook because even here in the US, it's the NGOs, the nonprofits, non-governmental organizations who are fighting tooth and nail for open borders and illegal immigrants. So it's not just there. And what I want to also point out is the double standards. South Africans are smeared as xenophobic
Yeah.
because they're saying that, we don't want illegal immigration. We want to put South Africans first. We want people to respect the laws of our country. But no one calls other Africans xenophobic. And it's the same argument. People don't want the crime. People don't want the human and sex trafficking, the drug cartels. And most recently I saw two other videos, a Ugandan video and a Ghanaian one. And I want to play the video with the Ghanaian woman speaking out against illegal immigration and the crimes that they're committing in Ghana, because it's not a South African thing. And Ghana routinely deports people, but they're not called xenophobic. So let's play the Ghana video.
Ghanaians will not throw over Ghana, over fix over country. So we want to fix our country. So we want all the foreigners to leave. They should also go and fix their country. We are tired of them. They have taken our retail. They are doing drugs. Now the youth are taking drugs. Prostitution. They are doing a whole lot. And so we are sick and tired. So we are talking to our president that we are pleading with him. We cannot stay here with kidnappers. We cannot stay here with prostitutes. Now the country have turned to something else. Ghanaians, we are not like that. We were not raised like that. So we are tired of Nigerians. They should go back to their country and fix their country. This is the last peaceful work we are doing. The next one is going to be something else. We are not going to.
So, Jacinta, what's your thoughts on the Ghanaian woman or her issues with illegal immigration pretty much the same as South Africans?
No, I mean, I get that we probably have the same frustrations, but theirs will never be like ours because our government is probably the worst government ever when coming to immigration. Second to that, we've got nations and nations and nations in South Africa. I'm talking about Congolese people have their own nation running in South Africa. Pakistanis have their own nation and they run a special different field of crime or business in this country. I'm talking Nigerians have their own trade that they're doing, and oh, it's so frustrating. I think, Mona, I'm just a bit like overwhelmed right now. This thing just like it's quite emotionally taxing. If I can tell you, I think I might need like 2 minutes to catch a breather. Yeah.
Yes, we can definitely do that and take a 2-minute breather. Hi, everyone. We are back. And again, I just want to thank Jacinta for joining us today and taking the time out on her Saturday evening to speak with us about March and March, her work, and the fight against illegal immigration in South Africa. So, Jacinta, we're going to wrap up, but you made a very important point when it comes to the number of illegal immigrants coming into South Africa. It seems that South Africa is the #1 place for foreign nationals, other African foreign nationals, along with Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, and Chinese to come to. And this BBC video that we're going to play, touched on that. They did a story on you and your march, the marches that you did this week. And they put out some data, which is a little bit conservative, but you tell us because you're on the ground. So let's play the BBC video because this is BBC Africa and they were reporting on this week's marches.
The things we have to start with is the fact that a lot of people think when we talk about African migration, many people picture long journeys to Europe. But the latest United Nations data tells a very different story. According to the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, DESA's international migrant stock for 2024, 86% of Africans who are migrants in Africa, that's roughly 25 million people, are Africans living in another African country. That number has grown sharply from about 18 million back in 2020. So the question is why? Where are they going? Well, the biggest magnates are South Africa, as they are hosting well over 4 million migrants. There's also Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast, which has 2.9 million migrants, mainly from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Guinea. Uganda follows on this list with 1.7 million, mostly from South Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. West Africa and Southern Africa are the busiest corridors. And the question now is, who's leaving? Well, the largest overall numbers come from Egypt, Sudan, and Morocco, though many of these head outside the continent.
We can stop
inside Africa.
Okay, so Jacinta, you are there. You are on the ground. 4 million, I don't know, is 4 million accurate to you?
It's far from accurate. One of the researchers that we work with, who's got some data that they got from one of the service providers in the country, estimated to be about 27 million or so illegal immigrants that have running around the country.
Wow, that's a lot. The BBC presenter also mentioned Uganda as receiving the third highest amount of illegal migrants. And I think it was today that the Ugandan ministry put out an ex-post, a tweet with a video. And this is what they said. So we're just going to quickly play the Ugandan video and then we'll close out. But this is today from the Ugandan government.
Thank you all. We are at the headquarters of Ministry of Internal Affairs. What we have been witnessing here today is the removal, the second batch of illegal immigrants who had been apprehended in Bukoto. Under intelligence-led inspection, we were able to apprehend 169 illegal immigrants. These have been processed, they have been investigated, and have been found to have breached the immigration laws of Uganda. Now the process that is on is that they have all provided air tickets and are being removed to their home countries. The total number of people we had apprehended was 169. Of those, 28 were ladies and 141 were males. As of today, as I speak, yesterday we took the first batch, which was 23. This morning, we have taken the second batch, which is 18. And later on today, we are going to take more. And also tomorrow. The challenge we have is that most of the flights are full, and that's why we cannot take them en masse at the same time. But they are all going to be removed from the country as scheduled, each one of them. Each of them has had to pay a fine of $400, the fine.
Visas are still valid as
visitors, unfortunately, that they are deporting them. Yes, the problem there is that what are you using the visitors visa for? If we find you in a work environment, if we find you working, if you are to engage in work, then you have to get the relevant facility, which is called a work permit. So once we find you working without a work permit, then you've already breached the immigration laws of Uganda. What I would like to pass on to Ugandans is that please, if in your communities you have immigrants who you are not as certain of, please report to the Department of Immigration, to the Directorate of Immigration, and we shall take the necessary action. We are always looking out. I told you I am from the Department of
Thank
Inspection
you.
and Compliance, where I'm an assistant commissioner.
So, Jacinta, Uganda says if you know of any illegal immigrants, report them and we will take action. The US government says if you know of any illegal immigrants, call ICE, report them, and we will take action. The US even provides a stipend, an incentive for any illegal immigrant to leave the country. I think they'll pay, I think it's $2,600 or $2,300 for any illegal immigrant to leave the country. They will pay your plane ticket, and everybody in the family will also get the money. So if you have children, each and every one of your children will also get the couple of $1,000 to leave wherever you want to go. Does South Africa have something like that?
No. We've got a government that doesn't have an idea of what they're doing. They're just thinking that they're going to deport people, and then the same people are back again. They don't have a plan, because even people, like I said, at the border, this is a business in our country. People who find immigrants, even the police, end up taking bribes from them. That's just the way it is. Unfortunately, we don't have a government that cares about its people.
So Jacinta, to close, what do you see as the way forward? What do you think that government needs to do? I know that your organization submitted comments to the government with the white paper that they put out asking for comments. But what do you and March and Watch want? What should the government do to put South Africans first and to stop the illegal immigration and all the crime that comes with it?
Look, I think the most important thing is we've got the laws that empower them to do so. But more than that, they're not enforcing those laws. They're enforcing laws that are from the United Nations. Because even our refugee agreements are not even ours. It's something that we took and signed without even thinking about who we are as a country and what do we want to maintain. I mean, our cultures are being compromised. You can see they're trying to have Igbo kings or whatever the hell that they're doing in this country, and then hide behind the fact that they call themselves refugees, and then automatically feel like we're supposed to all feel sorry for them. I can assure you, South Africans are not xenophobic people. But I think at the current rates and with the current frustrations, there's a lot of damage that can be done because foreigners are very dangerous in this country. They're very armed. They've got a lot of military training. Most of them, it's mostly men that come from their countries to come here. And we've found like the country has been finding bombs at the border, etc., etc. And so it's something that's going to really cause a very, very dire situation if not taken seriously, because it's South Africans are obviously not going to just hand over their country and say, hey, continue to just do as you wish. I think we're at a point now where that is not even an option for us because we're now thinking of our own children and their future as well. So we know for a fact that fighting is our only option. And with these immigrants, they just want to fight for themselves as well to continue and do all these illegal immigrants. And do these illegal activities. I mean, so I just feel like we're at a serious crossroad, and the only people that can solve it is government. And if government doesn't act urgently, then it's going to be a very, very, very bad situation.
Thank you, Jacinta. Before we go, I just want to ask you, I see it on social media, and you mentioned it before, the tuck shops, the spaza shops. For our viewers here, it's kind of like the tuck shop or the spaza shop is kind of like your corner street bodega. So different communities, different neighborhoods. It's a micro business. People may have a spaza shop or a tuck shop out of their homes, or they'll actually have a storefront. A lot of people in South Africa have it kind of in their backyard, when their backyards have an exit to the back street. But it's a small business that a lot of South Africans do, but it has been taken over by illegal immigrants. And we've gotten to the point where South Africans are being threatened and being told
Killed.
that they can, and being killed, and being told that they cannot have a small business, a little tuck shop, spaza shop, bodega version in their own communities. And the most recent incident or case that's going on is a young South African guy who has a tuck shop, who is being threatened. I don't know, just correct me if I'm wrong.
Mazwi.
Yes, and now he's missing. So just the last thing, Jacinta, can you just tell us a little bit about what's going on there and what happened?
Well, Mazwi is a young man who was unfortunately caught in a situation where he was trying to open a spaza shop for himself because there's no jobs. So he was just trying to run a business. And then he started getting a lot of threats from Somalians who seemingly think that this country belongs to them and this business should be solely allocated to them. So they threatened him, and after a while he went missing and hasn't been found for like a month now. So that's the current situation, and the police have been alerted. There were suspects that are arrested, but they were also let go. This is based on some people who actually feel like they saw him with these particular people. And unfortunately, that's where the story is at the moment.
Okay. Well, prayers up for him and his family. And we hope that he's found, and that this illegal immigration crisis that's happening in South Africa is addressed. Jacinta, thank you so very much again for joining us here at Little African News and having this honest, real talk conversation about what is going on in South Africa. And for us here, the double standard needs to stop. South Africans are not xenophobic.
Yeah.
I can tell you that much. Just like the Americans here pushing America first are not xenophobic, and neither are the Ugandans, the Ghanaians, and everybody else that's saying the same thing when it comes to illegal immigration. So, Jacinta, thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you to March and March and all of the people behind you with March and March.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mona. We appreciate it so much.